Nutr Machine versus Almond Cow. Which one should you buy? Which one is worth the money? And which one makes better nut milk? Let's find out. I've been using both these machines for a solid 30 days now, and I have to say there are some quirks to both of them that nobody really talks about, and I'm also going to show you which one is the better one. So let's start with portability. You're going to notice that the Nutr Machine is a lot smaller, a lot more portable, and you can take it with you to places and it's not that cumbersome, whereas the Almond Cow is a lot bigger and it takes up more counter space. However, I will say that the cord on the Nutr Machine is a little bit smaller compared to the Almond Cow, which stretches across kitchen islands. So if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of electrical outlets in your kitchen and you're looking to plug in somewhere, you really have to find a spot where you can kind of rest the Nutr Machine on like a table that's close to an outlet, which I didn't really like. However, in terms of portability, Nutr takes the cake with this one. Next up, we got to talk about the capacity. Now, this is one that gets searched a lot and that people talk about a lot. They want to know how many cups of nut milk can you make with each of these machines. So with the Nutr Machine, you can make about 1.5 cups per run, and with the Almond Cow, you can make 5 to 6 cups per go. So you can imagine the Almond Cow is great for big batches, whereas the Nutr Machine is more for kind of like personal use or making quick and fresh nut milks. Now, I will say that there are some caveats to creating these big batches of nut milk with the Almond Cow, and the first one is that it's gonna be a little bit watery. When you're making nut milk with the Almond Cow, you have to add 5 to 6 cups of water, and you can really taste that in the final product. However, if you hit the button again and you run the machine again, it does taste a little bit more like nut milk, but it's still not as full-bodied and as rich as the Nutr Machine. So in terms of capacity, I'm gonna have to give this one to the Almond Cow. As far as simplicity goes, the Nutr Machine is really easy to use. It's only 2 parts. You have the lid and you have the Nutr itself. There is an optional third part you can use, which is the filter cup. I like using this just to strain out any kind of pulp that's left over. And then you have the Almond Cow, which has multiple different parts that you really have to put together. One of the parts that I didn't like was the filter basket. So the filter basket, you load it up with 1 cup of almonds, and then what you have to do is you have to twist and lock it onto the top piece. This part is really difficult if you're just getting your Almond Cow. You really have to get used to this, and if you don't do it correctly, it could break on your first try. This part really drove me nuts. So one thing I would recommend is to tilt your Almond Cow and make sure that when you're locking the filter basket, the almonds kind of fall out of the center, because what happens is the blades hit the almonds if you try to do it vertically, and you can't get a tight seal and twist and lock. Another thing is when you're twisting and locking this thing, you want to make sure that you don't twist and lock it too tight, because then it'll be really difficult to unlock. So all in all, it's not the most intuitive process when you first get it, but after 30 days of using it, I have to say that I did get used to it. The first time that I used it, it actually broke on me, which sucked pretty bad, but I'm confident that you're not going to go through that because you watched this video. So in terms of simplicity, I'm going to give this one to the Nutr Machine. I just think it's more easy and convenient to use than the Almond Cow. Next is versatility. You'll find that both of these can make more than just almond milk. They can make soy milk, they can make macadamia nut milk, and they can also make oat milk, plus many more that I probably missed. Now, one thing about the Nutr versus the Almond Cow is that the Nutr has more settings on it to choose from. You can choose from 4 different temperature settings, which are hot, warm, boil, and room temperature. It also has a delayed start feature, which is really nice if you like to soak your almonds overnight and then have them already prepared for you ready in the morning. I like to do this when I'm blanching my almonds. So when you blanch almonds, you can actually have your almond milk last up to about 2 weeks, and the process goes as follows. What you do is you put your almonds inside the Nutr Machine with some water, you hit the boil function, and then you take them out, transfer them to a bowl, and then pour cold water on them. You fill the Nutr Machine up with some more cold water, you put the almonds back in, you let them soak overnight, you hit the delayed start button, and boom, in the morning, your almond milk is ready to go, and it lasts up to 2 weeks. So that is pretty cool, and it's something that the Almond Cow does not have included. I'm gonna have to give this one to the Nutr Machine. Another setting I like to use on the Nutr Machine is the keep warm feature. So if you're somebody who likes warm nut milks, or you like to warm up your tea or your coffee, you can just put it in the Nutr Machine and you can press that button and you're good to go. In terms of pulp, you'll notice that both machines are going to give you a little bit of grit, and that's just something that comes with the territory. You can't really prevent that when you're making your nut milks. The best thing you can do is just continue to strain them as best you can. Now, I will say that the Nutr Machine does make a pulpier nut milk compared to the Almond Cow. However, if you're somebody who likes a little bit more fiber in your drinks, which is good for feeling full, weight loss, preventing cancer, those types of things, then it's okay to have a little bit more pulp with the Nutr Machine. So another thing I should mention is that when you create these nut milks and then you let them settle, you'll notice that the pulp goes to the bottom. So when you first drink these nut milks, you're not really gonna taste a lot of the pulp in the beginning, but as you work your way down towards the bottom of the glass, you will notice that it does get a little bit more gritty. Wasn't a deal breaker for me, and I actually like it. So when it comes to pulp, I'm gonna say that the Almond Cow wins on this one if you're somebody who doesn't like that much pulp inside your nut milk. And last but not least, we have to talk about the cleanup, right? Because nobody likes cleaning up a mess. And I have to say that both of these were relatively easy to clean up. However, I do think that the Nutr Machine is easier than the Almond Cow, and the reason being is because it has a self-clean feature. All you need to do is just rinse your Nutr Machine out, and then you put a little bit of soap inside of it, close the lid, and then click the self-clean feature. It'll run for about 90 seconds, and after those 90 seconds are up, you just dump it out, rinse it, and it's perfectly clean and ready to go. Whereas with the Almond Cow, you have all these different parts that you have to clean. You can just hit it with a water spray and you can get most of it out, so it isn't a big deal either. I would just say that it's a little bit more convenient to use the Nutr Machine, so Nutr takes the win for this one. The last comparison that I want to make is between the Nutr Machine, the Almond Cow, and a Vitamix or a blender. And the reason being is people are like, why can't I just make almond milk or nut milk inside a blender? And the answer is you definitely can. The problem with doing that is it's not as convenient and it's not as easy as these other two machines. So with a blender, you're going to have to blend up all your almonds, and then you'll have to use something called a nut milk bag, or you'll have to use a fine strainer to sort of get all the pulp out. And then there's the hassle of actually lugging out the big machine, hooking up all the parts, plugging it in, washing it. Most of the blenders, the containers are BPA-free plastic, which is okay to use, but the Nutr Machine and the Almond Cow are stainless steel, so you don't have any plastics touching your nut milks, which I really like. Before we jump into the final verdict, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment below with which machine you're thinking about getting. Now let's get down to business with the final verdict. Which one would I buy, the Nutr Machine or the Almond Cow? And I'm gonna have to say that it depends, right? If you're somebody with a family or you're somebody who likes making large batches of nut milk, then the Almond Cow makes sense. Just know that it will be a little bit more watery than the Nutr Machine. You can hit the button twice and rerun the machine 2 times to get a more creamy nut milk, but I do think the Nutr Machine does a better job in terms of taste and flavor. It's also more versatile and it's portable. The only drawback is that it only makes 1.5 cups per run. So if you're somebody who just likes to make almond milk or nut milk for yourself, or wants to just make a quick 1.5 cups in the morning, then it makes complete sense to go with that. I will leave a link to both of these in the description below. Go ahead and use that link. I'll try to update them with any discounts that I can. And if you use that link, I'll get a little bit of a commission at no extra cost to you. So I'd really appreciate that. Helps keep the channel going. Wait, before you go, make sure you check out one of these videos. I've got the full review to the Nutr Machine and the full review to the Almond Cow. I'm gonna give you the complete rundown to each one of these after using it for a while. So be sure to check those out, and I'll see you in the next one.